Welcome back to the program. I will get to yesterday's comments here after I'm done with this video. But today's theme is transparency. Transparency is what is bringing down the deep state. Transparency is what's bringing down the federal government, or the old federal government, I should say, and all the bad actors in it. Transparency is also bringing down the Democratic Party as we know it. But here's a perfect example of what I mean by the difference between now and then when it comes to transparency. We all know that there was that horrific, two of them actually now, but let's go back to the first one, the Black Hawk helicopter and the American Airlines flight, when they crashed into each other over the Potomac River, right? Everybody died, sadly. Well, when they went to the Federal Aviation Administration and they asked, what was the mission that the Black Hawk helicopters were undertaking? Guess what? Well, that's an ongoing investigation. We can't comment. When they asked, again, to the air traffic controllers, what was the mission of the Black Hawk helicopter? Once again, they would not divulge that information. So guess what? They asked Pete Hegseth, the new defense secretary, and guess what? Transparency, folks. That's right. The downed Black Hawk helicopter was practicing a secretive evacuation mission. Okay? Let me break this down so that you understand it. Let me get to this one point here. Plans for continuity of government are among the Pentagon's most highly held secrets, says Mark Kankian, a defense analyst who follows Pentagon operations with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. They cover who would be evacuated, how, and where they would go. The reason is that if there was a terrorist attack or a direct attack or something like that, and this is according to Pete Hegseth, that they were doing a training mission on how they would get out certain officials. So obviously they're not going to name those officials, but in this case it would probably be the President of the United States, the Vice President, and probably, the Secretary of Defense, the CIA director, some of those people. They would be evacuated. But here's the thing. Why not just tell you that? Instead, you got to get this information from the new administration that believes in what? Transparency. Transparency for the next 4 years is going to make this world and this country so much better. And we are continuing to clean house. Not only has there been a record 426 executive orders. I want you to think about that for 1 second. How many that is. Today's only February 1st. It's unbelievable. What is that, 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks? Whatever it might be. And you've had that much activity. This is the most amount of activity. You know how they say what every president's going to do in the first 100 days, and this is my first 100-day plan for this and for that. Forget the 100 days, man. How about the first 100 hours? I mean, seriously, we're changing the game here with this presidency. It's unbelievable. It is scary. It's scary from the standpoint, if God forbid this was to happen the other way around in the future from some leftist that came into power and did the same thing. And again, that's where the danger lies, which is why I've said this before. You heard it on the interview that I did yesterday. We've got to figure out how to make this stuff permanent. But here's just some of the things that are going on. Let's go with this story first. So apparently, President Trump has fired basically every single person involved with the January 6th prosecution of all the January 6th prisoners, but also his own cases, okay? He has fired them all. Now, I do not want them just fired. I want every single one of them prosecuted, and hopefully when Kash Patel and of course Pam Bondi and the rest of them and all the rest of the intel officials from this new administration get in power and they're able to do that, they're probably going to go after them, One of the things that I'll say about Kash Patel, he's not playing around, okay? He was vague on purpose in the confirmation hearings because he can't let them know what he's going to do. Kash is obviously an America First conservative, but when he was in his confirmation hearing, you could put him next to a Democrat and they were almost identical because that's what the Democrats do. They don't give you much information. They're vague. They pretend they don't know things. And they do it on purpose. Why? So that when they're finally approved and confirmed, then they can pull the mask off and they can be the communists that they were appointed to be. In this case, it's just the opposite. He's going to pull that mask off and go, okay, there's a new sheriff in town and all you people are getting prosecuted. And I believe that's what's going to happen. And guess what? Scumbags like what's his name? Andrew Weissman. This is one of the biggest jerk-offs ever, okay? He is afraid. And not just him, John Brennan, James Clapper, Rod Rosenstein, Bill Barr, they are shitting themselves right about now, okay? And they should be, because none of them got a pardon, and it's going to be so sweet when they go to jail. So, this is a story in which they are so upset. Let's see, where is this? It's illegal. It's against the law. Corrupt prosecutor Andrew Weissman melts down after Trump goes scorched earth, firing dozens of career FBI officials. So here, let's just do the audio on this one. And this is from MSLSD, so keep that in mind when you're listening to it.
Strike out a good chunk of the Bureau. Brian Driscoll, the acting FBI director, seems to have done this against his will. There are people involving linked to Jim Jordan, Elon Musk, who are walking around the FBI. I mean, you're the former general counsel. What are you hearing? What are we missing about this story that people should understand?
I'd say
Okay, this is Andrew Weissman speaking right now.
Main thing in talking to you as a lawyer and the former FBI general counsel, I dealt with employment issues day in and day out at the FBI. Everything that you are hearing that from Ken, it's illegal. It is against the rules and the law it's against civil service rules. You cannot fire career FBI personnel without cause.
There's the key. Without cause. Guess what? There's plenty of cause, and the cause is not only going to be found, but the cause is going to end up in indictments because the cause is clearly there, okay? That's what they understand, which is why he had to say that. If there was no cause, Andrew Weissman is correct. You can't because of the Civil Service Act of 1979. But there's plenty of cause, and they know it.
It is simply not possible. And the idea that you have the acting Deputy Attorney General of the United States doing something that is against the rules, it's against the law, is the story. So these purges that you're talking about violate the law. When you said, Jen, these are not political people, these are not at-will employees. They have civil service protections.
Unless they're found guilty, meaning what? Cause.
You cannot do that. Creating a list of thousands of FBI agents and personnel who worked on January 6 cases so they can be targeted, illegal. This is something.
No, not illegal if there's cause. Now, let's think about that. Is there cause? Well, let's see. Malicious prosecution, cause. Abuse of power, cause. Deprivation of rights under color of law, cause. I don't know. Overcharging, cause. Election interference, cause. Yes, there's plenty of it.
Something that cannot happen, and it's happening within our Justice Department. I mean, I cannot say just how significant this is because of this is the weaponization of the Justice Department that we're seeing.
These idiots spent 8 years, well, 4, but even 8 when Trump was in office, right? So 8 years plus of doing nothing but weaponizing the Justice Department against their political opponent. And now all of a sudden the shoe's on the other foot and now they're upset about it. Well, that's just too bad.
Right before our eyes. One good note is if these people sue, we could end up with the trial that Donald Trump has so desperately tried to not have about the conduct and his conduct on January 6th, his efforts to whitewash January 6th. Well, if you fire all these people, some of them, many of them may sue. And looking at what's being reported, I think that's going to be, certainly it's a case that would go to trial, and they may very well win. And all of that could be laid out before our eyes and be the actual trial that they have desperately tried to not have.
It's a massive purge. It would.
Absolutely wrong. Okay, now, first off, Weissman is not only a dirtbag, but he's also a slime ball. He's also an attorney prosecutor who has been overturned by the Supreme Court. I don't even know. 99% of every single case he's ever brought, literally, I'm not even joking, okay? He's the same as Jackoff Smith. There's really honestly not much of a difference between the two of them, okay? So the fact that he thinks that these career criminals from the FBI that were guilty of all of these things that now the Department of Justice is going to prosecute them for, somehow thinks that they're going to have a counter lawsuit that's going to be successful? Not going to happen, folks. Not going to happen. You heard it from me first, okay? So I wanted to kind of point that out. Now, here's the other thing. We're not talking about hundreds of people being fired. No, we're talking right now hundreds. But they're talking about thousands. That's right, thousands of people fired. Why? Well, it's very simple. The SES, which is part of the administrative state, it stands for, Executive Services, right? Senior Executive Services, SES. These people are the long-term career criminals. They are the entrenched people. I call them useless employees that ought to be fired. Now, granted, they are part of the Civil Service Protection Act, but he's already done an executive order switching it to Schedule F. Schedule F, as I say in Preserving Liberty, allows these people to be fired. So what has President Trump done? How do you clear out the deep state even faster? Offer them money. That's right. These scumbags will do anything for money, right? Including leave. And a lot of them are planning on doing that. A lot of them are planning on leaving. Now, they're still getting money. They're still getting 8 months worth of of salary, and then their pensions and all this other bullshit that they don't deserve. But then again, if they are indicted eventually, guess what? That all goes away, because that's part of being an indicted person when you are a member of a government. When you're a government official and you work for the FBI or whatever, you lose all that stuff if you become indicted and go to jail. So President Trump is smart. He understands the game this time, and he gets it. And he says, you know what? Okay, you guys don't want to leave? Fine. I tell you what. I'll give you X amount of dollars for the next blah, 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 blah. I'll make this deal so sweet for you that your hunger for money will supersede anything else, and you'll go out and become a lobbyist or some other douchebag or whatever it is that you want to do, and speaking and book writing or whatever it is, but you're not going to work for the federal government any longer. Certainly not in the next 4 years. This is all really, really good stuff. Now, let's talk about this part as well. Looks like Chucky Schumer is going to be targeted. He's in trouble, okay? Department of Justice has just now opened up a criminal investigation into Chucky Schumer for threatening the Supreme Court justices. You may remember during, when was it? Let me see. During the Kavanaugh confirmation. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was for Roe v. Wade. Right before they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade, he made that statement, and I think it's in here, where it says, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price, Schumer said at the time. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with this awful decision, end quote. Well, guess what? That is a threat. And not only is it a threat, but he could be held criminally liable for a possible assassination attempt. Because remember, after he said that, some crazy wacko went to Brett Kavanaugh's house and threatened to kill him. Remember? I'm sure you do. Well, guess what? They're not going to let that slide either. So that's right. The Senate Minority Leader, hopefully, could be indicted soon. I hope. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see. Elon Musk. Elon Musk's team has locked out government workers, federal agency computer systems responsible for hiring and payroll as President Trump overhauls the government bureaucracy. So basically, they are locking people out. You want to be a spy, you want to be an entrenched traitor, you want to be someone that is going to try to, undermine President Trump's ability to make America great again. Not this time. President Trump has had 4 years to study these animals. And guess what? He's a smart man, and he doesn't make the same mistake twice. Thank God. The Trump-Musk revolution in Washington is officially underway, and the entrenched deep state bureaucrats are shaking in their boots. The Trump administration has reportedly blocked access to the federal government's hiring and payroll systems for thousands of people. Through the new advisory body Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, President Trump tasked Elon Musk with spearheading this much-needed purge of the inefficient taxpayer-funded Leviathan that has spent decades growing out of control. Now, Elon Musk's team is moving at lightning speed to reclaim control over the government's human resources agency, the Office of Personnel Management, making it clear that the days of unaccountable left-wing bureaucrats running Washington are over. According to Reuters, Musk's aides have restricted thousands of federal workers' access to data systems containing sensitive employee information. Aides to Elon Musk charged with running the U.S. government's Human Resources Agency have locked career civil servants out of their computer systems that contain personal data of millions of other federal employees, according to two agency officials. Musk, the billionaire Tesla owner, we already know about that. The two officials who spoke to Reuters on condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation said some senior career employees at OPM have had their access revoked to some of the department's data systems. The systems include a vast database called Enterprise Human Resources Integration, which contains date of births, social security numbers, appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, and length of service of government workers. We have no visibility into what they are doing with the computer systems and data systems, one of the officials said. This is creating great concern. There is no oversight. It's creating real cybersecurity and hacking implicate. No, it's not. Look, let me explain something to you. When these lying dirtbags on the left like to say, oh, you can't release that, or you can't do this, or you can't say that because it'll affect national security. That's all bullshit, okay? It doesn't affect national security. It's a way for them to block sensitive information that they want to keep hidden. You get it now? Okay? That's what this is all about. The other part of this is this. A lot of times you'll notice, for instance, like when Director Wray was being questioned about something that we already knew the answer to, what would he always say? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator, I can't comment on an ongoing investigation. Ongoing this, okay? That's what that's all about. Ongoing this. It's all nothing but diversion and stall tactics. Those days are over, okay? Transparency is finally back in Washington, folks, and it's absolutely amazing. Among the communications and notable memos sent on Tuesday, presented federal employees with an unprecedented opportunity to voluntarily resign, accompanied by a generous severance package equivalent to 8 months of pay. The federal workers who accept Trump's offer will receive pay and benefits through September 30th. Trump is offering the buyouts to make sure that all federal workers are on board with the new administration's plan to have federal employees in office and nobody, absolutely nobody, leaking information or trying to undermine what is happening in this administration. God bless President Trump for understanding the severity of the need to do this, okay? This has never been done before, folks. Washington has been run garbage in, garbage out, Republican in, Democrat out, Republican in, Democrat out. No more. No more. It is now changing. And every single person in this country eventually is going to be so happy and pleased because we are going to have a government that finally works for us, not the other way around. What have I always said? When the government fears the people, there's freedom. When the people fear the government, there's tyranny. And we have been living under tyranny for way too long, and it's going to end right now. The other thing I was going to cover just real quick was it the Canadian thing? No, it was, well, I'll do that, and then where we at time-wise? 21 minutes? Okay. Let's do this. So the outgoing DNC chair unveils, Democrat Party's rules for leadership positions. And it's going to make your head spin. So, do you think that they have actually learned anything about this astronomical, historical ass whooping that they got? I don't think they have. Nope, they have not. The Democrats still don't understand why they lost. The Democrat Party voted for a new DNC chairman on Saturday, but the outgoing rules actually state that the demands of the DNC official demands that the DNC elect, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? A non-binary person for leadership position. You heard that correctly. Non-binary. We are stripping DEI out by its fucking roots on a daily basis. And they are still doing this type of stuff. They now demand that they're still going to be able to try to use theirs, what does it say? Zim, their, her, ze, she, his, z, they, them. I can't see it. X, I, M, whatever the hell that is. X, E, Y, and something other, Z, E. I don't know what all this crazy shit is. But anyway, this was the outgoing DNC head, and this is what he had to say.
Rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. Cuckoo. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is
Oh yeah, make sure and talk to those people. They've really helped you win a lot of elections, haven't they?
inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week, but I hope you will see that in practice it is simple and transparent. The order of balloting is designed to ensure equal access to the ballot, regardless of gender identity. As we must elect a candidate of any gender as well as 1 male and 1 female vice chair.
Think about this for a second. I just want to stop it because it just hit my mind. They're talking about this bullshit that no one cares about. Literally, no one in this country cares about. It's such a tiny, 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 minute amount of people. They're not talking about anything that makes any sense. They're not talking about the next DNC chair official will have to be able to figure out how to reach out to working, white class, whatever, white voters or whatever, middle class voters. And even if they're bullshit and lying about it, they're not even trying a strategy. They're not even saying anything having to do with, closing borders or respecting the views of the nation and how they voted and how we have to modernize and get with the times, or maybe move to the middle to try to fool people, to not let them think that we're commies. None of that. It's just all the same stuff. So you know what I say? Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Hell, why don't you just say you need one male, one female, one dog, one cat, one zebra, one fucking half robot, horse, minotaur, whatever. One that glows in the dark, one missing a head. I mean, it's sick. These people are absolutely insane. And in some respects, I'm glad that they are still doing this, because as they are doing this, they are going to find it so, so hard, unless they steal elections again, and they won't be able to do that once we clean up our elections. So they're really going to be towards the ash heap of history. At least I hope so. Okay? There's always overplaying our hand, folks. Don't think that there's not. If you think they're just going to roll over and just play dead, no. They're going to come back hard in 2026. That is why we have got to make sure that these gains are permanent. Because if we can make these gains permanent, they will not have the mechanisms in the future to get back into power. And that is the key to preserving liberty. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.